Another episode of Ball is Law. Here today we have Max Rusakov, co-founder of RevU. Hopefully I got your last name right.
It was perfect.
Yo, nice to speak to you again, dude. It was awesome. Thanks for coming
I,
on.
I know, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we've recently connected, and looking forward to keep building those connections, and looking forward to talking to you today.
Yo, absolutely. So, how did you start with sports? What was your upbringing like?
Yeah. So I would say I had a pretty different upbringing from majority of the people here. I don't think I've mentioned it anywhere before, but I'm sure a lot of people can catch the accent. I'm actually half Ukrainian, half Russian. Pretty crazy combo considering everything going on in the world today. So we have some very fiery dinner conversations. But just just like in America, I promise you, kids out there grow up playing sports. They grow up being very passionate about sports, and I wasn't no exception to that. I grew up playing about every single sport I could, besides actually American football and baseball, just because we didn't have it back where I'm from. But never to say the last, I was always very passionate. My last biggest sport that I've ever dedicated the most time to was always tennis. I started a little bit late, so when it came to deciding, I ended up following more of my educational pursuits. But nevertheless, I was always in love with the college tennis, the college sports ecosystem. And as I was graduating, I really wanted to work on something that would give me an opportunity to stay in this for a little bit longer. And me and Cal met up for a quick conversation. That's how RevU was started.
Yo, that's awesome, man. Like you're located in Texas, right?
Yeah. So both me and my co-founder, we met at SMU. We went to Southern Methodist University. So
Nice.
out of all the universities in the country, when you talk about NAL and you talk about SMU, we have a very, very interesting history with the death penalty. But it's an amazing sports program. So just being here and starting to work on it my last year of school, we had access to so many athletes, and we were able to truly learn so much in that first year NAL was ever born.
Being in Texas must be absolutely insane right now. Like every school, I feel like is going all in on NIL, and like every team is really, really good.
Have you seen that tag deal they just signed? $5.5 million.
Mm-hmm. Crazy, dude.
Crazy.
Oh man, they just sign those deals like it's nothing.
Oh yeah, and I mean, some schools like SMU, for example, when I was an undergrad, everybody would leave the game before the halftime. We just, quite frankly, we weren't winning anything. We were losing to TCU almost every single year, which is our big rival. So, you know, ever since NIL came up for a school like SMU, who has so many donors, so many relationships, we were able, within the first week we joined the ACC, which was shortly after NIL
Mm-hmm.
became the first NIL became legal. They were able to raise $28 million within 24 hours, and they fully rebuilt the stadium with that. And what I've learned about Texans is Texans like to stay in Texas after they graduate, and they really like to support the school they went to.
Yeah, you don't really see that too often.
I
I
went to
know, I
Rutgers, so
know.
I don't know
There's
what
just
that's
something
like.
about. Oh, I apologize.
I went to Rutgers, so I don't know what that's like.
Yo,
But no, I mean the Texas football. I mean the Texas college sports ecosystem is just booming right now, and it's a mix of a few things. It's a mix of just amount of money people are willing to donate. It's a big mix of how much our government has supported NIL, and also everybody's been talking for the past few days about how state you're in matters so much because of the taxes. And I think that's also another place where Texas gives a very big competitive edge versus places like California or New York.
New Jersey,
um,
especially. Yo, and you
Which is
can
why
even
our
see
athletes
that.
don't stay here.
Yeah, no one stays in New Jersey anymore, man. And like the other day, SMU played Duke, and they had a chance to win that game. And a couple years ago, that definitely wouldn't have been possible.
no, yeah, I know.
No shot.
The schools they're competing with. We beat you Miami this year, and they're in finals of the national championship right now. We almost beat Clemson last year. So that's the truest testament to how much NIL can truly change a program. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm sure everybody's going to have a different opinion on that. But nobody can ignore the fact that NIL has completely changed the college sports.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
and it's just keeping on making changes as we go along too.
I know, and I think some of the changes are a little too fast for their own good. I think obviously, I'm sure you guys would agree, but a lot of the professionals in the space, a lot of the universities, a lot of the especially athletes are in a really confusing place right now. And it's truly a very unique place to be in this first year after house versus settlement because things keep changing every single month. And realistically, nobody knows whether it's going to be better or worse for the future students. But what we know now is there's clearly a lot of holes that needs to be covered.
oh, absolutely. And at least RevU is like really good at helping student athletes um going with the contracts. That's probably like one of the biggest things right now is students not being aware of like what they're signing and not really getting that help that they really need.
I've got some horror stories. We've seen some atrocious contracts. I can't really speak too much about what athletes have brought to us, but at the same time, there's so many public stories. Right now there's everything that's going on with UW suing their player. There's everything that's going on in Georgia. The first year that NIL started was even worse. We saw the case of Jermon Dexter, who signed a deal with BLA for $430,000, ended up getting drafted, and only then he found out that he committed his AP rights and he committed 15% of his pre-tax income for the next 25 years for them. And I think another thing that people don't really realize is the scale that it happens on. People think that they're not going to get screwed over by contract as long as they're doing a small deal. And that's just not true. We've seen contracts from a national fast food chains where they basically take players' IP rights in perpetuity and they give them like $200 worth of whatever fast food they're selling. So I think it's really important for athletes to proceed with cautions when they sign those contracts. You still have your eligibility on stake, you still have your IP rights on stake. But I think a very hard catch-22 where they would run into is an average NIL deal won't even, sorry, not average, a median NIL deal won't even cover you a lawyer fee. A median NIL deal right now, I think if you go on NIL Assist, is worth like $61 or $62. So, realistically, this is not really worth for a lawyer nor athlete to engage with. And while their lawyers are going to pick up on that work and try to scale it or do it pro bono, we believe that for an industry where you bill about like from $300 to $500 to $700 an hour, it's very hard to scale down and be effective with those contracts and still give every single student a care.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you're right.
Especially from the lawyer
So
standpoint.
tell us about what RevU does for these athletes then.
Yeah. So, as I said, for us, it all started with talking to athletes. We figured out that there's a lot of athletes who are even afraid to pick up on the deals because they're not really sure what they're signing. So we really wanted to create something where a student is able to ingest their contract and they're able to get a high level of insight. At first when we started working on this, we thought that, hey, we can build an AI lawyer. Very fast, we ran into UPL, and we've learned that we're not able to build an AI lawyer. We're not able to help kids negotiate. But what we are able to do is we're able to put every single law, every single compliance rule, every single one of their contracts, and track conflicts of interest. We can do any sort of apologize, brain freeze. We can track whatever the conflicts of their interests. We can track compliance. We can track all their deliverables. So we figured out that a lot of athletes, they pick up deals and then they forget that they have to show up somewhere. So we wanted to make sure that we text and email and put it in their calendar. But the core idea of RevU is being able to get those simple insights. And the way we do it is we try to do it very simple. First, we've realized that most of the people, when they read the contracts, they're just looking for the words. But if you don't really know what you're looking for in those contracts, it's very easy to miss something important. And what we wanted to do for RevU is we don't want to just read the document. We want to point out things that matter, highlight clauses that affect your eligibility, money, future opportunities. And then the second thing that we did is we built RevU as a multi-layer system depending on who's using it. So we built layer for athletes, we built layer for universities, we built layers for legal teams as well. And for the athletes, it's as simple as explaining things in plain language. Here's what this clause means. here's what it compares to in your previous deal. Then it automatically pulls out actual deliverables, what you have to do, and it just makes sure to remind you when you have to do it. For schools and compliance, it's a little bit different because there's an admin dashboard. They can see all the deals, the status, the key terms, and the risk all in one place. It gives them the structure. It gives them, the goal is to bring him some structure instead of just kind of having a pile of PDFs stacked up together in one folder. And then for the last layers, for our legal layer, we wanted to actually bring it to where lawyers use it the most. So we wanted to bring it straight to their Microsoft environment. We made a silly mistake at first of building it in Google, and only then we figured out that every single lawyer absolutely hates redlining in Google and they love Microsoft. But we wanted to bring it right in there. So what it does on a lawyer level right now is when you receive an NIL deal for one of your athletes, it automatically pulls it out, it puts it in Word, and automatically redlines and lets you just kind of go through it and put everything together.
Wow.
So
I need that in just everyday life.
Yeah. And for us, when we figured out how fast we're able to do it, we were truly mind blown. And when we were able to even show it to people, we were mind blown on how much simpler it can make the job for the lawyers. Because, for example, you have 100 contracts now, and instead of reviewing them one by one, you can put it all into one. We still haven't released it. I'm making up the name, so don't laugh too hard at me, but thinking of Matrix for now. And every single document will go to this matrix. Every single document will be lined up in rows, and you can add queries in the column. And then you put 100 NIL deals, and you ask, do all of them have proper IP defenses? And then it just starts to rattling and, citing back to the resources, and you're like, holy crap, this is like weeks worth of work. And yeah.
That's awesome. So if you're a college athlete, you just copy and paste the whole contract into the AI, and then it does its thing right away.
Yeah. You can just upload the file there directly, or we still have, since we did build the Google, we still never got rid of it. So we still have the Google and the Microsoft add-ons. They can really proceed through every single one of those options. What we need to do from our side is to make sure to give him a proper permission, because we don't want an athlete to have an access that lawyer has and then go ahead and use that tool to negotiate it without even knowing what the heck most of the things in it mean.
Oh,
How long has RevU been a thing? How long have you been out there?
So we started working on this about 2.5 years ago. We launched our first true MVP, not this past October, but in October in a year before. And, that was the first simplest model. It was a little bit glitchy, but what we did from there is I've reached out to about every single lawyer, every single athlete, every single agent I can find. And I was just like, hey, here, take this for free. Just use it. We need to figure out how to make this better. And that's pretty much what we did with what we call V1, our version 1. And we did that for a whole entire year, just trying to collect feedback and fix it. And then that gave us an opportunity to figure out that we need to create different layers, that there needs to be different access points. And, throughout that year, we were able to learn and build hopefully what's going to be very, very useful for the universities.
I was looking at your website before. I see you already have a waiting list too. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we just built, so we had the layer for the students before, like a very, very simple layer. The layer for enterprise, so for whether it's a legal team or university, we have just came out with that in October. So, just trying to gear up and line up for as many demos as possible and hopefully impress some people.
I love the fact that, oh yeah. I love the fact that you explain some of the words throughout the contract, because some of these contracts can be super confusing, and if you don't know what some of the words mean, then you kind of get screwed. Like if you don't know what indemnify means, then it kind of can totally change what the contract means. So that part is really, really cool.
Yeah, and that's exactly, I really appreciate it, because that's exactly what we were aiming for. Because when we looked at it, we were like, okay, holy shit, I don't even understand what the heck this says. There's no way an 18-year-old is going to say that. And, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but it's very tough to understand those contracts, especially when a lot of the contracts are purposely predatory. it's very hard to catch the true point and what's going to happen to you in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Like I was reading one last week, and like the way it was written, it was just so confusing. Like honestly, like I had to read it a couple times, and in the end, it was pretty much, hey, this agency just wanted no liability, but just all the money.
That's
And
crazy.
like
And
that probably happens all the time. Which is
agents
just
is a whole
crazy.
different conversation. While there's some amazing agents I've met through this work, um, there's also some agents who have no idea what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
I like to call them the uncles. There's a lot of uncles who decide they want to represent the athlete just because they watched football on their couch the whole entire life, and they spend their Friday afternoons arguing on Twitter. Uh, and realistically, I think people also really undermine how hard the job of an agent is, especially of an effective agent. Uh, and you know, I'm sure you've heard of all the horror stories about agents as well, but there's agents who take up to 20-25% of student athlete earnings, when
Hmm.
realistically all the student athlete does is goes and puts his profile on Open Doors, and then the brand reaches out to him. And I know a lot of agents, a lot of people will argue that you can't compare this to NFL. In NFL, they only get 4% because the deal volumes are bigger. But the thing is, in my opinion, that's no reason to take advantage of an athlete. And my reason, you either figure out how to scale it and make enough money out of helping students fairly, or you can move on and figure out what to do next.
Oh, absolutely. Like I don't know how agents are taking 15 to 20% of the revenue share money. Like that's just automatically going to the player. Like the agent doesn't have to do literally anything for that money.
Apparently, they broker deals. There's also different types of agents. There's an agent who just has Canva and ChatGPT, and that's all the support they'll give you. And then there's
Yeah.
agents like, for example, recently we brought off 3 guys from University of Georgia to shoot some stuff for RevU. And the way their agents handled everything was amazing. He had a legal team that prepared everything. He was there with me through every step. He called me
That's
every
awesome.
single day before the deliverable. He called me on weekends with all the materials they're going to post. So I think it's a really double-edged sword. There's a lot of really, really good players. But I do think that a lot of people who want to work in sports see college sports as an easier point of entry than versus even like pro sports.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, honestly.
because you don't have to register with a players association.
Yeah, that's a whole another thing. And now, you have all these brands building their different agent certification. I'll have somebody reach out to me and they're like, hey, like, I'm just exploring the space of NIL, but I bought this and this certification. And I'm just like, it's cool that you bought it, but it really doesn't mean anything. You can go watch a video on YouTube from NIL and it's going to mean as much as the whatever certification you got. Because quite frankly, there's no certification for an NIL agent. There's no liability on an NIL agent. And I think it's important to realize.
Yeah, especially like I've also seen like friends, like college friends of players, and they're like, "Oh, I'll represent you." It's like, "Oh, we're boys."
I
And then
forgot. Oh, go ahead. I
no,
apologize.
that's pretty much it.
I'll have to send you a clip. I forgot from which school it was, but it was one of the football head coaches from one of the schools. Basically,
Hmm.
went out on the scene and said, "There's athletes on my team whose names I don't even know, and they already got an agent, they already got legal team." And I think that's also another side of NIL that a lot of people are not talking about. I think a lot of people try to incentivize athletes to go all in and to be an influencer, when realistically that's probably not the best route. And if they're not planning on going to college sports, maybe they should diverge their attention towards education or anything else. But I believe that there's also a lot of people in a space who just come and say, hey, you're a senior in college, you have 1,000 followers on Instagram and 2 posts, but we can help you build your brand. And I think a lot of the times they'll do more of a dishonor to the athlete, because at the end of the day, I think after the influence ends, after the influencer life ends, after college sports ends, the amount of deals is going to be lower, and it's going to be very, very hard to sustain yourself. So I think it's very important to just make sure they pick their priorities straight.
Oh, absolutely. You kind of have to have a mix of both. Of hey, if you want to go all in and try to get brand deals, do that, but also think about your life after sports. Because for majority of these players, that you're not going to go pro, you're going to have a 9 to 5. So might as well use being an athlete to help you later on in life.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And there's if you were a college athlete and you were a college basketball player, when you if you pursue the academic route, so many people who are going to give you jobs in the future are going to respect you just for a sole fact that you played college sport. It's a huge asset, and I think there's so many more ways to use it than rather just to focus on being an influencer.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. At least try internship or a job would be perfect. Just right there, just by being an athlete and talking to alumni and different people like business owners in your area would be perfect.
Yeah, and that's another thing I'm curious about. How are all these college football players that are getting paid like $500,000 a year? How are they supposed to pick up a summer internship in the future? Because, if I was paying somebody so much money, I probably wouldn't be too happy if they took off 2 months over the summer training camp. So it's very interesting about. Excuse me?
Why would they even want to at that point?
Exactly. Well, yeah, but then if they don't get drafted, then what's next?
Yeah, that's the hard part. It's like you got a couple mil in the bank and you're like feel like, oh, I have all this money, but in reality, like that's only gonna last you so long. You're gonna have to do something else. It'll be
Yeah,
nice if you can retire, but probably not.
yeah, especially considering the fact that a lot of the athletes don't even fully understand how they're supposed to pay taxes. I was talking to Thad Madden, who worked in IRS for about 38 years. He now works in NIL space, and he was telling me about how athletes just go ahead and spend all their money on the craziest thing, and then at the end of the year, when the tax season comes, they realize that they owe more money than they have in their pocket.
Oh no. Yeah, if that
Grant,
happens,
I also don't know how to pay my taxes.
if that happens to pro guys that are in their 30s, that's 100% gonna happen to 18, 19, 20-year-old. Like me and
Yeah,
John have had this conversation so many times that we would also buy the craziest stuff too if we had hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars in our bank.
Especially at 18, 19.
Yeah.
yeah, but then, at the same time, you look at all the people who won the lottery. You read the stats behind that. All the guys who won 300, $500 million are all broke now.
Yeah.
Because being able, and that's why I'm so happy that there's so many people in this space who are actually providing financial education. There are some great experts who do that, because I think that's a very, very important fact. Is once you took that money, you need to realize what to do with it, because you can't just spend and expect it to keep running forever.
Yeah, education is like the biggest thing for so many different areas. It's like it changes so much that even parents, it's hard for them to keep up. So if the parents can't really give good advice, like who's really gonna help these kids out?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you see, we've seen some parents where, in my personal opinion, they obviously want to do what's the best for their kids.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of people don't really consider the realities of this world. And then they think that they're just gonna get lucky. And we've seen some athletes unfortunately get deals where we clearly saw red flags on, and we tried to warn them on as much as we could.
Hmm.
And they ended up going to school, and for one or another reason it doesn't end up so well. So a lot of the times I think a lot of the parents are putting pressure on so many kids. And I just hope that we're not going to have, now that high schoolers can make money, I just hope we don't have the next case of Macaulay Culkin, where we have
Yeah.
somebody like somebody like Baby Grok, whose dad literally sits behind on every single podcast and throws bottles at him and screams at him, and it's just not okay. You're just taking the kid's childhood away.
Yeah, that's hard.
That is a great example of helicopter parenting.
Yeah. So, growing up playing sports, competing, I played tennis. I've seen so many helicopter parents, and now that their kids are able to actually earn so much money, I really wish them some luck.
Is there like a certain clause or certain things within the contract that you guys see more often?
Um, probably trying to take probably the biggest ones are trying to, if they're marked as predatory, are either trying to take away the IP rights in some capacity or another. There's also a lot of morality clauses, which kind of gives brands easy exit, and a lot of brands try to kind of put in a provision which will let them pull out of the deal easily. I do have to say most of the times they do not, but sometimes the things that are written in those contracts, they basically write like, yeah, if we find out you haven't gone to a practice, we're gonna cut off the deal. It's 3 months in, and it's just like it doesn't even make any sense.
Yeah, like I'm just looking at the contract that I looked at last week. I have a copy here, and one of the things says negative behavior. They can close the deal, and
On a
like
contract?
yeah, and they don't really explain what that negative behavior is.
Oh wow,
So
I've never seen a lot of those.
really,
No, not like that.
no way. But yeah, yo, so that shows that they try and get out of these deals pretty quick sometimes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've seen. Oh, have you ever read about what happened to Savannah Shure?
No, I
Um,
don't think so.
she she graduated by now, but she was a gymnast down at LSU, and
Mm-hmm.
she basically flew out to New York. She had like a small deal, like $1,500 deal, um, and they basically sent her $3,000 check because they asked her to also use the rest of the money to cover a facility fee.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Long story short, her check ended up bouncing, and she ended up just being ghosted.
Oh, I remember reading that. Yo, that's crazy. That's so sad, man. Oh my god, that's terrible. And flying all the way out there too.
Yeah, no, it's awful.
That's
And
awful.
with those contracts, there's just so many things that are happening all over the place. A lot of the times it's unintentional, sometimes it's intentional. Um, but truth of the matter, I think the ability of a student to actually comprehend and understand what they're signing prior to going to
Mm-hmm.
is very, very important.
How many contracts have you seen, like ballpark estimate, like percentage, that are predatory?
Uh, It's hard to say. Majority of them are good. Majority of them. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so I cannot really. I cannot legally judge the contract. But based on what RevU has returned, majority of them are not predatory. Couldn't give you an exact number, but we've probably raised red flags and somewhere from like 10 to 15%, maybe.
Okay, that was pretty good. That's
That's a
better than
lot
I
lower
thought.
than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a good amount of deals, and a lot of those what we call red flags. They don't really get triggered unless something atrocious happens within the deal, unless the brand just has a crazy switch of mind. So a lot of times, although there are those clauses, I don't think they're as intentional, and a lot of the times they don't actually bring so much trouble to the athlete.
When not to get too specific, but is it usually like bigger brands or smaller brands that you see a lot the issues with?
It depends. It's a lot more bigger brands than you would think. Um, just for who we are and the companies, the type of athletes we mostly help. If you're a Livy Dunn or you're Archie Manning and you're signing a multi-million-dollar deal, you should probably have your own legal team. So majority of the athletes inherently we're working with are more like kind of mid-level, mid-major NIL earners. And for them, majority of their deals are more so with local businesses and so on.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, how big are the local businesses going all in on NIL?
Um, Never seen any super significant deals. A lot of them more so try to do activations with group of athletes, so they can have a lot of athletes engage with them. But a lot of times it also really depends on the business, and it depends on how much they match up with the athlete.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like that's like an untapped market, kind of, or like the local businesses near the college. Like maybe they can give a player like $500 for like the name of a sandwich or a drink, or even just give like the football team or basketball team or whatever like free food. Like
Yeah.
that small things like really go a long way, honestly.
Yeah, and that's really beautiful thing about NIL. Like one of my friends, his little brother, he plays tennis for a D3 school down in California, And we got on the phone, and I was like, well, dude, you're an athlete, you can totally pick up on some deals. And he's like, no, like I don't have any followers, like I'm not like super high ranked in the nation. Long story short, after about an hour of arguing, I convinced him. I'm like, you just go to your favorite, he's in San Diego. Everybody loves burritos. Everybody loves breakfast burritos. I was like,
Nice.
go to your favorite breakfast burrito place and tell him that if they give you and your whole team a free burrito after your match, you're gonna put all of you are gonna post it on your story, and you're gonna say that the whole team is going there. Boom, they're getting free burritos. And that's really the beauty of NIL. I think people are starting to get confused when NIL is not Archie Manning making $5 million in a year. That's a pro athlete right there. NIL is, a regular college guy being able to make money to take a girl on a date, being able to, pick up some free gear, being able to engage with brands and truly show who they are.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen like any deals where they can say, "Oh, we'll post or we'll do XYZ," and count it as an internship or a job or future career with that brand?
No. I've seen some people who get athletes on NIL deals and then offer them internship after. Like for
Okay.
example, when I went to oh my god, AthleteCon, with Samantha Green,
Mm-hmm.
amazing event by the way.
Nice.
There were a few athletes who they were shooting content for the brands that were there, and there were a few athletes who were actually walked away with an internship for the summer
That's awesome.
for some of the brands who were there. And Sam is amazing at what she does, so she's had some amazing brands there. Snapchat was there, Meta was there. There were some great law practices. Athletes.org was there. So I think it's all about how much you put yourself out there. I think, as I said earlier, people do like to work with athletes, especially if it's an internship capacity. They would absolutely love it. So I think it's all about how athlete communicates, and it's about who wants it more.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's good to have that resource though, as we, move forward into the NIL sphere, as things are starting to get more understandable, more regulated, minus the transfer portal, of course. That's still the most confusing thing out there.
And NIL go.
But it's good to have that resource to where, they can upload these contracts and have a program go through it and really break it down for them without having to spend upwards of thousands of dollars on a legal team.
Yeah. And that was exactly the goal. And the goal was to also make it very cost effective for the athlete or for whoever is using the tool. It cost us, quite frankly, about 50 cents to review a contract. And we can store it for the next 4 years, and we can compare it to absolutely any deal that you ever get. You'll always be able to pull it out, and you'll always be able to refer to that data. And with that, we're hoping that we'll be able to scale and help a lot of athletes who are not picking up on the deals where it quite financially makes sense to bring full legal team on.
Have you had anybody upload a deal that's with a school directly?
With like a rev share agreement?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can review rev share agreements as well.
Nice.
Because now, we're not just seeing NIL deals with companies and brands. The schools are just flat out making these deals and paying their athletes.
Yeah.
Have you had them uploaded?
Yeah. We've had a few, not directly from the university side, but either from the athletes, or we work with a lot of attorneys who work with them. But we've never had one uploaded directly from school, and that's an interesting catch-22 we kind of run into with the universities, is because now we're in a position where a lot of universities don't necessarily want their students to understand what they're signing. So a lot of the times when we come in more as an enemy than a friend. But it also depends on the university and their morality and how they want to take these things.
Well, in reality, who's been more predatory to these athletes in these past years than the schools themselves, with all the money they make and the athletes not getting any share for their faces being plastered everywhere?
No, absolutely. And that's where I think another very big disconnect is a lot of the kids. They come out of high school with the big dreams of college. Everybody's going to support you in college, And realistically, like right now, yes, you're not classified as an employee yet. You're getting paid, like some of you guys are getting paid more than an average American makes. So, there's going to be a certain level of commitment they're going to expect from you. And they're going to make sure that you're not going to be able to screw them over. And they have every single resource to make sure that you're not.
Yeah.
Do you?
And go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, do you work with a lot of D2 and D3 schools too, in like their compliance office, where they might not have like the manpower and like lawyers and all that type of stuff to go and like explain the stuff to the players?
Yeah, so we haven't onboarded any universities directly. We're looking for like a POC project because, we
Nice.
just launched that enterprise model very, very recently. So as of right now, we're not working with any universities at all. We have few demos lined up, but mid-majors is where we see ourselves to be the most useful because we understand that they don't quite have as many resources as, let's say, like SMU or Ohio State per se. But they still want to stay and gain competitive edge and be able to support their students first of all.
Yeah, you see that like I went to Hofstra, their mid-major school, but they've had a lot of guys go to Power Four schools after a year or two. So like just learning all like the skills and stuff at the mid-major will help them a ton in the future.
Yeah, and it's just like it's just like I forgot. No, he was the basketball head coach of Prairie View in Texas. He just went out on an interview and he said, "Hey, we're not even recruiting 18-year-olds. Why do I want to deal with a bunch of young guys if I can pick up a developed like sophomore out of it's developed D2 sophomore player who's going to put it all absolutely into field and who's going to be more committed to football than anything else."
Wow, I'm surprised the mid-major school said that, but honestly, that's like the reality because these dudes are coming from the G League overseas. Now, like Power 4, Power 5 schools, the average age are like 24, 25, 26.
I know we have Carson back coming back to college just because he wants to be around his girlfriend who ended up dumping him a week later. We have Baylor recruiting guy out of NBA. I don't know if have you had a chance to read about that?
Yeah, he was in the G League,
He
and
was in the
then
G League, but he declared about 2 years ago, and then he just came back and got recruited to Baylor.
yeah, I
I
think
think that
now it seems like if you don't get into an NBA game and you're just in the G League, it seems like you can come back, which I don't know, that's weird. Like
We had
it
this
makes
discussion on our
sense.
last pod too.
Yeah, like if it kind of makes sense if you're not super old, because in the G League you kind of make no money. In college, you can obviously make like quadruple the money. But if you're like 25, 26, should probably just stay in the G League, honestly.
no,
I mean,
absolutely,
LeBron has
because
4 years of
also
eligibility.
What?
LeBron James still has 4 years of eligibility.
It worked for J.R. Smith for golfing.
Yeah.
And it's also like weird, like just thinking back to when I was in college, like it would be so weird sitting next to 26-year-old in one of my freshman classes. Uh, so I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. I mean, I think the one that drives me the absolutely craziest is have you guys seen the whole thing about Tootsie?
Oh, the
No.
rapper, yes.
Oh, in
Syracuse,
Syracuse?
yeah,
Oh,
they just
yeah.
walked on a rapper who didn't even know what the hell interception was. They were all like on a live stream with their team on like Instagram Live or whatever, and the guy didn't even know what interception was. And realistically, like right now, we have a grown man who's already made a career, who's already made a good amount of money. I mean, he has like 5 million followers. He probably makes like $3,000 per post. So, and we have somebody like him coming in and taking opportunities from high schoolers because, quite frankly, there's roster limits now. So it's not like you can bring on 100 walk-ons and they're just going to sit there so they can say they played for Syracuse. No, right now, when you bring on somebody like that, you're taking away an opportunity from actual young person that's supposed to be a college player.
I wonder if the hope of that is that's going to draw in more NIL revenue for the school. So to the school, it's nothing to them. What's a walk-on spot going to do? I don't have to give him a scholarship. I don't lose one of my scholarships. And you know what? He could probably bring money to the school.
Yeah, absolutely. With the engagements he's able to get, he probably will be. And for him, it's also a great resource because Syracuse, I'm pretty sure, just built that whole media program where you're able to pretty much do all your media stuff in one place.
How do you think the landscape of college sports ends up in the next couple of years?
Ooh, that's an interesting one. It's been so all over the place. Um, I think if the things keep going the way they're going right now, government will just have no choice but to intervene. Um, and I something I've learned as I get older, it's never a good thing when government gets involved in things. It only makes things more complicated. Um, but I'm hoping that in the next few years we're able to figure out how to bring back college sports to college kids.
Perfect, yeah. Kind of like make a cap where if you're over, I don't know, like 23, 24 years old, then that's it.
Yeah. I mean, it's also so hard to figure out with interception of all sports because you look at somebody like you have college players that are making $1 million a year, and at the same time you have somebody like Riz Brantemeyer from UNC who won a national championships for women tennis. Because she won that national championship, NCAA's gave her a wild card to US Open. In US
Oh,
Open,
wow.
if you lose first round, you make $30,000. If you win, you make 60, and then it doubles every single round.
Oh,
She's
no
gone
way.
to the fourth round. She ended up having to forfeit every single penny of that.
No way. Really?
Yeah, because she wanted out of a competition. So, how is it fair now that you have somebody like her who played college tennis, who got an opportunity to play at the biggest tournament in the world because of her college tennis, not being able to earn from that, but we have professional players who declared for draft or about to declare for draft who just decided to come back because of the COVID. And it's very hard to figure out the fair ground and how to synchronize it between all the sports.
Yeah, I didn't even know about that story. Damn, that's crazy. Yeah, she should be
Yeah.
able to keep that money. Like, that's not really fair.
I
And
guess
it's
it goes
funny
against
because
that
that's
amateurism model.
say it again.
It goes against that amateurism model the NCAA always preached, but that's gone out the window. I don't understand why that hasn't changed.
It truly makes no sense, especially that's a second girl from UNC in like past like 5-7 years because they had a girl Fiona Crawley who also won a national championship, who also got to US Open and had to forfeit all that money as well.
That's wild. And that's like a really nice salary right there.
That's
That's
a real that's
oh, that's
really
like
nice.
insane. That's like that's so much money. It's not even like saying it's like a couple grand. Like that's kind of like life changing ish money.
No,
Because the
absolutely.
NCAA and your school don't get a cut.
Yeah, probably.
And then, as somebody who comes from the tennis background, I really sympathize with them because if you want to become a a pro tennis player, every single summer, every single time off while in college, you have to travel all over Europe, all over Asia, and play tournaments. And the rule right now is they can only write off $3,000 a year
Oh wow.
out of that competition. So, you expect your American athletes to become these great leaders in their sport, and then you kind of close off the opportunities for them where they actually go and compete. But at some point, you can't afford to travel and keep getting the rankings and paying all of it just out of your pocket without taking any of the compensation from your prize money.
I think a golfer from Oklahoma got an amateur invite to the U.S. Open too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, onto the PGA Tour.
Oh, that's sick. To
Because I
play?
remember because he
Oh,
was from he transferred from Rutgers to Oklahoma, and he got an amateur invite, I think, onto the Pro Tour.
so did he have to forfeit his prize money as well?
I don't know. I don't think he's competed yet, but if they had to do it for tennis, I imagine so.
That's
It's
interesting.
It's very interesting, especially, there's also such a big opportunity because if universities did something, even if Reese went to US Open, I'm sure they could work out some sort of deal where they were like, okay, well, just you're about to play in Arthur Ashe Stadium, just wear UNC clothes, and we'll figure something out. But
Absolutely.
unfortunately, things aren't so easy.
Yeah, just put a logo on your visor.
Yeah, I think everything, because I think now football teams are allowed to actually put patches in uniforms, and I think they're also allowed to. I don't know if they actually end up finalizing that, but I'm pretty sure they're allowed to sell the advertisement spaces on actual field. Um, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle all of it, because everybody likes to say like, no, we're still college sports, we're not pro sports, but if you look at it, we really are moving that direction.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
And
become free agency at this point. I was talking to Chris before you got on. There's a transfer uh, in college football who's going to his seventh school.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
And what year is he?
I don't even know. I've never heard of this guy, but I think he started at LSU, went from LSU to Auburn to Texas State to Tulane to Western Kentucky to Georgia State, and he just transferred to Incarnate Word.
Oh my God, that's a lot of schools. It's like the
I
one
know.
guy. Have you guys seen that? I think it's Tom Cilio. Um, he's a 58-year-old who's playing for some
um,
D3 school now, who just got some NIL deals.
yeah,
And so many people are just like, "Oh, this is so cool. This is awesome." And I'm just like, "No, dude, that's weird as hell."
yeah. It's like
At one
the
point,
dad.
there's just too old.
Yeah, he graduated his original college, and those guys weren't even born yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if he actually plays. That must be insane.
I saw some footage from his practice, but
Mhm.
if I had to guess, it's probably some sort of publicity stunt.
Oh,
And
probably.
that opens up the door for so many brand deals of stuff you would never expect to advertise with a college student.
Oh yeah, I
No,
think he got
absolutely.
like icy hot or something product similar to that, which is pretty funny. It
All
like
those
fits.
commercials you get during daytime TV, or those are all the brands that are working with him.
Yeah,
No,
probably.
no, absolutely. But at that point, we have to probably go to dictionary and rewrite the definition of a student.
Yeah. John has a favorite saying.
Which one?
You don't what's it, the dude from Ohio State, the
Oh,
football
yeah.
player.
I didn't come here to play school.
Oh, I've heard that. I actually had somebody tell me that over the phone today.
Really? It's
The-
true.
As funny as it is,
You ever
unfortunately, it
have to
is true.
remind these guys maybe you should kind of play school?
It's important. And, I was actually talking to somebody about IV leagues today, and we're, just trying to. I was very curious. I was like, well, they would probably have so many opportunities if they opted in into, rev share. Uh, and, the conclusion I ended up coming into is IVs always wanted to stand for their education level. And I think for that exact reason, they didn't want to do too much with NIL, and they didn't want people to come there and think that they're going to be able to make a lot of money as an athlete under the Harvard flag, which isn't quite frankly what they've ever stood for.
Right? Only Harvard can make money under the Harvard flag, not you.
Yeah, exactly. Harvard makes money. Harvard doesn't donate money. Scary place.
So for RevU, like what's your plans in the next couple months to a year?
Yeah. So for us right now, as I said, the biggest goal is to keep doing those demos with universities. We're looking for our first university who we're able to onboard. We're looking to do a POC. As I mentioned, quite frankly, it's very cost effective for us to do what we do. So the first university we're looking for, um, we're not looking to sell to them. We're looking for an opportunity to partner with somebody who will match with us in our views and who'll prefer athlete protection and scalability. And as we keep going with those universities, hopefully we're able to onboard some more, and hopefully we're able to keep helping athletes. Um, but I think as we're able to onboard first few universities, we'll also be able to see few things we need to fix, few more things that are probably in need by the athletes. So probably being fast with executing and building proper tools for the space is the main goal.
It's
That's
awesome.
awesome.
Yep. Just partnering up that with that first university, and we're coming in with the mindset that, hey, if you win, we're going to win, and if you win, we're going to win. So we want to be that first partner for you, And the way we like to think about it is think about how reviewing contracts used to be 20 years ago when internet and computers first came out. Back in the day, you would have to send, when it first came out, you could either go send an associate to a library, make sure he goes through all the books and finds the right case or precedent, then comes back to you. Or you could just go and press Control F and find it right in the doc. And we're trying to be the next step of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, you gotta bring this stuff to 2026. Can't always be stuck in the past.
We're trying.
That's awesome, man.
Looks like you're succeeding so far.
Absolutely.
We're working very hard, and I'm very lucky to have my co-founder. I really wish he was able to be here today, but he's doing a little bit of traveling right now. He actually recently got married.
Nice.
But I'm extremely thankful to have him. I think me and him working together is a very, very good mix, because his knowledge and understanding of all the technical stuff has been an extreme help to us. And just being able to build the ecosystem, meet some amazing people. We just built, I haven't announced it yet, but I'm going to announce our advisory board in the next few weeks. I think as long as we keep standing around right people and we keep standing for the right thing, we'll be able to bring the best thing for the universities and the athletes.
Hell yeah, man. Any last questions, John?
Nothing from me.
No, I wish you the best of luck. It was great talking to you again, man. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it.
No,
Yeah,
thank you so much. And hey, I know you guys are both lawyers, so if you would ever like to check out RevU and play around, let me know, and I would love to give you guys an account and hear about your opinions of it from the first hand.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to look at it.
Awesome. We'll get in touch about that.
Thanks, man.
Perfect.